Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, live from the Venice Boardwalk, baby, it's Bear Badeaux.
What's up, Jay Light? Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, Bear. What's happening, buddy? Are we wheezing the juice right away on this episode that doesn't even have Pauly Shore in this movie?
Hey, man, Pauly Shore should have been in this movie.
He should have been in this movie.
This movie would have went from shitty to great out of nowhere. I'm just telling you.
If you replace Rob Schneider with Pauly Shore in Surf Ninjas, it immediately gets a full star rating better than it currently is.
Absolutely, dude. It's Rotten Tomatoes goes through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. Well, we really are just getting right into it here.
We are, man. I mean, I've always wanted to be on your podcast, so it just got amped up where we were like, let's just do it.
Well, the thing that, like, I've never seen this movie, right? And one of the things that really blew my mind watching it today was, why did they cast Rob Schneider to play a teenage boy?
I don't know. The first time I watched it, even as a kid, I was like, what age is he? I thought he was the creepy uncle or something.
Because he's clearly not anywhere close to the same age as these kids.
No, I mean, dude, he's a ginger in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like he's doing his best Seth Green impression.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And the first time they show him, he's just in the kitchen cooking in like a... Dude, I don't even understand it.
His whole role makes no sense. I mean, they clearly wrote him in there to be like the joke machine and have him throw out a bunch of really dumb lines.
Dude, they're the most racist lines for kids' movies ever.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 90s were a different time. You can get away with a lot of casual racism in a family comedy film from the 90s.
Oh yeah, dude. I think one of my favorite lines in the movie is legitimately, "Hey man, you'd be a great sushi chef." Like, yeah, let's just say that to the Asian guy.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude.
So
I mean, yeah.
I want to know, what's your experience like with this movie just in general? Like, did you see it growing up? Did you always have this hatred towards surf ninjas, or is this a recent development in your life?
God, I remember not liking it when I saw it.
Okay.
And it's a movie that I remember laughing a lot, like, when I watched it again, just more at how awful it was than like how the movie should be. And when I grew up, like this type of movie, like Three Ninjas to me was like awesome when I was a kid. It's one of the greatest movies. And then I remember like Surf Ninjas was just on the commercials of everything that I was watching leading up to it. And if you told me, like, if you knew nothing about Surf Ninjas, but you were just like, hey, dude, there's a movie in the 90s with Leslie Nielsen and Rob Schneider, you should see it. You'd be like, yeah, dude, I should see it. You're like, yeah, dude, there's a cop in it. It's Tone Loc.
Tone Loc is in this movie.
You'd be like, yeah, dude, and it's awful. It's just, I was just disappointed. And then when I watched it again, I was hoping it would give me this nostalgic feel, and it didn't. And just like, there were moments in the movie where I laughed, but it wasn't like watching like a good old 80s or 90s movie where you're just like, when you're done, you're like, man, that was so good. I missed that time. Mm-hmm. No, you're just like, what the fuck did I just see? Like, I could only describe this movie as like Ninja Turtles on PCP meets like a bad acid trip or something. It makes no sense.
It really is, especially, I mean, kids' movies already, and in the 90s especially, have this sort of chaotic element to them where there's stuff that doesn't make sense because it's you're trying to appeal to kids, so stuff is getting thrown at the wall, and it really doesn't have to stick because kids have the attention span of a goldfish, so they don't give a shit about like if a joke logically makes sense.
I will be honest with you. Even as a kid, I feel like my entire group of friends was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Like they was clear. This made no sense. I think the only thing that changed was they were like, "We got to buy a Sega."
Yeah, but why? Okay, why is the Sega Game Gear a huge part of this movie? I don't understand. Is that it's the most blatant product placement tie-in?
I looked it up, dude.
Uh-huh.
Because we decided to do this movie. I was like, I'm going to do a little bit more research than just hate this movie. And one of the things I found out, because when I watched it again, I was like, they don't explain this Sega at all. This kid just pulls out a Sega all the time, and it just tells the future of what's going to happen. Like he's watching a surveillance video, and like they just don't
justify it. It's like Minority Report with a Game Gear.
Yeah, dude.
He sees the first thing that he sees is like cops getting murdered on his street.
In the video game, a ninja creeps up to a cop in a car and like slits his throat.
And the kid's like, "What's going on? Why?
Yeah.
I thought this was Shinobi. How come it's not Shinobi? What's this weird magical game that just showed up in my Game Gear?"
Dude, so I looked it up. Turns out Sega was the very first investor into the movie.
Really?
They were a huge financial investor in this. So apparently they were just like, Sega goes everywhere. And so they just put Segas in, and the director must have been like, let's not justify it. Why, dude? The kid's got superpowers now.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at some of this history stuff now that you bring it up. So, fun fact for the listeners, and you probably already know this because you've done your research, Bear, but they started developing the video game of Surf Ninjas before they filmed the movie.
Dude, I heard that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The director was like, yeah, all right, we're going to do this crazy shit. We're going to have this fight scene. We're going to have these cops get murdered. We're going to do this weird thing at Imperial Palace. And we need you to make video game sequences. Oh, yeah, have the Asian guy fight with chopsticks. That's totally normal. Make sure you put the chopsticks item in the game, okay?
That's exactly what they do. He pulls him out. Like, it's got a weapon choice, too, of like, you could choose sword or chopsticks.
But you get more points for doing chopsticks. Yeah, this movie makes no goddamn sense. So the plot of the movie...
The director, by the way, if you look him up, like, look up the director's IMDb. The dude fucking wrote Look Who's Talking and Police Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He did
like
Look
he
Who's
must
Talking,
have got
Look Who's
paid
Talking
a
2.
healthy buck to do this movie. Like there's no way he was like, this is genius. This script's amazing. There's no way.
I mean, this guy's worked with Steve Martin. He's worked in kids shows forever. Like after this, he still worked in Even Stevens, Lizzie McGuire. He did Dog with a Blog. I mean, this guy, and also keep in mind, so Dan Gordon is one of the screenwriters who also wrote The Hurricane and Rambo Last Blood.
See? Like, where did this come from that he just thought of this? And I couldn't figure out in myself, like, there's so many flaws in the movie. Like, to me, like, on top of the movie being ridiculous, the two biggest problems is there's no tension ever. Like, ever. There's no tension built up to anything. Things just happen. Like, crazily just happen. And none of it makes sense. Like, it's just pieced together like someone was playing with a doll and they just ripped all the arms off and just started gluing them back upside down. Like, I couldn't figure out if it was written that way or if someone messed up somewhere and was just like, no, we're just not going to care or justify anything from this point on. Because that's the one consistent thing in the movie is that it's not consistent.
Yeah, there's so much in this movie that really does feel like they wrote a scene And then they were like, all right, I'm done for the day. I'm going to move on and write this next scene. And then they just did that over and over again. And then they never sat back down to go and edit anything. And they're just like, all right, well, we just have all these scenes we have to shoot. Whoopsie. Does it line up with the video game? As long as it lines up with a video game, then we're good to go.
I mean, Leslie Nielsen in this movie, just his character makes no sense. Mm-hmm. He comes out of nowhere. They justify none of it. I mean, the first time you see him, he looks like Shredder. Like, he just pops up, and it's like Leslie Nielsen and Shredder. And to be honest with you, I remember as a kid watching it and thinking, like, he was hilarious. Mm-hmm. And then watching it again, and it felt sad. It felt sad, dude. Well, it felt bad for him.
Yeah, because it's his... The only good thing I can say about Leslie Nielsen in this movie is at least he didn't do, like, full-on Mickey Rooney racism, like he didn't try to play it as an Asian guy.
It's closely weird. I mean, he does like padiddle himself a lot. Like, he is playing with his junk throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, but at least he's not doing an Asian accent. He's got
a robot hand as a man. He's got a robot hand that its urge is just to constantly play with his dick, and that's all it's doing constantly. And he's got, like, they couldn't figure out if he was, like, they put a Kano mask on him. Yep. Like, he looks like half Kano, half clown.
And it's because keep in mind, the reason why he's in this cyborg outfit is because he got crushed by an elephant. His head got stepped on by an elephant, and he survived. And they were like, all right, we can rebuild him. We have some of the technology. We don't have all of it.
They don't even explain, though, why he matters to rebuild. Mm-hmm. Or, like, why, like, these people follow him in the first place. Like, why a whole bunch of ninjas were like, hey, this grandpa showed up, and he had really good cookies, and, he smells weird, but, like, we're going to follow him. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no justification whatsoever. And he's living in a cave that has a landline in it. Uh-huh. He's got a landline in a cave as he casually walks by slaves in cages.
Yeah, and people who he's, like, drowning in cages.
And it's casually. It's just like, hello, I'm talking. You got a problem just drowning slaves over here. Like,
he's making references to, like, cutting people up with an electric carving knife, like what you'd use to carve your turkey up for Thanksgiving.
He specifically chooses a turkey carver.
And then all of a sudden, oh whoops, he's got a phone call, and we better make sure we get that classic joke of his answering machine message being a little funny.
It didn't make, like, why? How did he get a landline and an answering machine in a cave? Where did he get the power from? There's no lights in the cave. There's no other devices in the cave. It's just cages and rocks. Like, it makes no sense, dude.
This movie really is just, like, it's so all over the place. And you can't even really... It's hard to even think of what the real plot through line is, because this is how convoluted the plot of the movie is. It's so boring that when the eye patch guy, Zatch, is explaining to the two kids why they are, like, royalty from this mysterious country in Asia, they literally are like, all right, this is boring, dude.
They made up a country.
And also, not only did they make up a country, which that's fine, you can get away with that, I think, they really shittily added it to the map. They just, like, painted a stripe on a map next to Indonesia, and they just scribbled in, this is Pakistan now.
Yeah. It doesn't make, like, it, I just still can't believe it. Like, just, you're right. And he just makes them kings of this country. Like, the way I summarized this freaking plot of this movie was like 3 surf-loving kids come across a homeless man with an eye patch.
Yes.
Because that's exactly what he looks like when you first meet him. And he's just like, you're a king from another country. Come with me and reclaim your throne. They're like, oh yeah, totally, dude. And they do. They just go with this guy, and then they're like, let's bring you to your wife, bride, that we've assigned to you in this Chinese restaurant.
Oh, and by the way,
Leslie Nielsen.
And she's been here in Los Angeles the entire time you've both been alive. And we just chose not to tell you about any of this.
Yeah, the entire time. It just was like, why does... Instead of giving this character a love interest of any sort, they're like, you know what would be really great to teach kids? They can just buy love. Mm-hmm. They sell these women. Here's one here. Like, it's just...
And also, they're making jokes about, like, before she shows up, they're like, oh, you know, she's got a veil. You better bail. So, like, oh, they didn't even buy me one of the hot ladies. They bought me an Uggo. Oh.
Rob Schneider, got to get a few of those in.
Oh, my God. I mean, at least they had the good conscience to not give Rob Schneider a line that made any sense there either, and they just gave him a garbage throwaway line.
Somewhere in Hollywood, there's a producer who's like, hey, man, you should see this demo reel I just got sent. It's Rob Schneider's lines from Surf Ninjas.
He's so stupid. There's so many miscast parts in this movie, and I mean,
pretty much all of them.
Every single part, almost. I can't think of, except for, I mean, I kind of liked Tone Loc in it. His character doesn't make any sense. Well, he gets kidnapped. He goes to try and save them from getting kidnapped. Yes, he does. Then they break his neck, and then he comes to, and he's like, I'm totally fine with joining this revolution. Also, he's been kidnapped. He also tries to exert LAPD jurisdiction on a fucking island in the middle of the South Pacific.
His character makes no sense at all. You're 100% right. That scene is one of the best scenes in the movie, and it's also one of the worst. Because, first off, you're 100% right. Like, I feel like as a kid, I remembered watching it again, that when they snap his neck.
They snap his neck. They make sure to put the sound effect in there.
Yeah, crack it, and he goes down. You think he's dead. And then he just shows up later, and insteed of being upset that they like locked him up in some room after snapping his neck, he's just like, I've been thinking. I feel like I should just go with you guys.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, we should just do this.
And
he just goes.
Tone Loc,
funky cold pile of shit.
He also gets the best joke in the entire movie, which is the eating the handcuff key joke.
Oh yeah,
where he's like,
I eat one once a week.
I eat one every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, yeah. How did you? Yeah, that's what it was. He gets out of his locks. How did you get out of the cuffs? Oh, I eat a key every Tuesday.
I had a key. Well, we searched you. I ate it on Tuesday.
Remember,
how did you know?
A kids movie,
I eat one every Tuesday.
I will say though, just in COVID times, you know, I didn't see Tone Loc sanitize. So I'm just...
Well, you know, they didn't have the proper sanitation on the cargo ship that they were hijacking and going to Pakistan.
No. The cargo ship just brought them to like this random island. They had to surf to Pakistan or whatever, or the island, the main island. Remember?
Oh, is that why they all surf?
Yeah.
I had no idea why they did that. I had no idea why that was a whole montage.
Part of this movie, like, there's this. I just don't even know. We're jumping around so much, but I don't know how to like overlook this ridiculousness because it always stands out to me. Mm-hmm. The kid with the Game Boy, the Sega.
Yes,
he is called a seer. So he's got the ability to see. It's maybe when he could see in the future, whatever crap. So the dude goes, you've got the ability to see. Just look out into the woods. And he looks out into the woods and he could see anything. And instead of building a fucking boat, he just sees 1,000 surfboards. 1,000 surfboards. And it's like, we're going to surf across the ocean to this island.
But Bear, this movie's not called Boat Ninjas. It's Surf Ninjas.
Boat Ninjas would have been, at least it would have been a little more realistic.
Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ. And the whole storyline of it is that Rob Schneider is like, I gotta like wax my board. Wax my board because I can surf, but I just want to wax my board. And then after they do this, they go out and he's like, oh, guys, I can't surf. Sorry. And then they're like, hey, man, we know that, but it'll be okay. And that's it. That's it. That's like the advice. We're about to surf across the ocean. We know that you don't have the talent.
Just trust it. It's going to be okay.
It's like, I was like, what? That's basically the same thing someone told me before my first stand-up set. Look, we know you suck, but it's going to be okay. You're just here already.
The other, I mean, there's so little that's believable in this movie. Even watching the stage combat was hard.
All of it.
There's so many sequences where like I would catch that they didn't even attempt to fake hit somebody. And it's so obvious and so bad.
They miss each other like multiple times and they just use sound effects and then people do flips in the air like they got punched. And not to mention like just the fight scenes themselves. Like I said, no tension buildup. And it's weird because when you don't have it, you realize how much you need it. Like even in a movie as like dumb as a kid's movie in like Three Ninjas, right? Before the ninjas show up, you've got like this tension buildup where they're out and you can kind of feel that something's going to happen. And then all of a sudden these ninjas come out and they run away. And then all of a sudden the bad guy slowly enters and more ninjas approach. And you just get this whole feel of the fight scenes. Not in this movie. They're just like walking down the street and then from the balcony jumps a ninja. And it happens through the whole movie. It's not like it just happens once. Even when they're in the house, they just jump through the window out of nowhere. Like, hey man, how's your day? Ninja through the window, dude.
I hate when people make movies aimed at children that remove the core tenets of actual good storytelling. Like you really boiled it down. There's no tension in this movie. Everything comes at you really fast and then it backs off and it comes at you fast and it backs off. Like even at the first big fight sequence that happens, like they still have this guy fighting off ninjas that are just trying to come at these kids for probably the first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie. The kids don't know. It's not exciting when it happens all the time.
Well, they see the guy at some point. They turn around, they see the guy beat up a ninja, but it's still like it's not like a guy they know. And he's dressed like a homeless dude with an eye patch, and they're not like, "Whoa, what the fuck is going on?" This homeless dude with an eye patch is beating up a bunch of ninjas. They're just like, "Oh, normal." Yeah, like that's it. And no one, like, not even a background extra ever is like, oh, what's happening? They're all just like, they just walk in a straight line. Like it feels like a video game almost. It feels like a video game.
That's funny. Yeah. There's a video game that's based on... But, I mean, like, even so, the first big fight scene that happens where they're at the restaurant, and all the ninjas come in, and they're just flipping through the windows. Nothing but plate glass windows getting shattered in that scene. And then our boy Zatch comes in. He doesn't do a flip through a window that's already broken. No, he breaks down a wall completely needlessly. And he has this whole crazy fight scene. But then at the end of that, like, the tension, it's a tensionless fight scene. Because we know it's so early on that nothing really bad can happen. And then to even, like, you know how sometimes you got to break the tension with a joke, right? That's what happens in a lot of movies like this. You break the tension with a joke somehow. They have that moment in this scene where they have all the cops outside, and then the two guys come up to the obviously closed restaurant and go, "Hey, you guys open? Man, you know the food's good because cops." It's a funny joke, but it just doesn't make sense because there's no tension to actually break.
It's 100% true. I feel like most of the jokes in the movie are like that. They don't really make sense, but they're there. And it's like a piece when they're just like, all right, insert here. Like they're playing Mad Libs or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, here's the fill in the blank moment. Oh, we just introduced a love interest. Basically, now ninjas need to jump in. Pretty much through the whole movie, they're like, we introduced a new location. Ninjas.
Okay, ninjas are getting in here as
Cue ninjas.
Yeah, it's like I think they reverse engineered the movie. Literally, they get the video game. They're like, all right, what levels can you make in the video game? Okay, we're going to write all of our scenes to take place at those locations.
Yeah, that's basically what they do. But at the same time, it's like they also, like, they don't have the stuff in the video game with, like, you know, the guy smoking cigarettes. Homeless guy is a cigarette smoker, which is just weird in a kid's movie. And then they bring out Playboys at one point.
Oh, yeah, Rob Schneider just has a stack of Playboys.
Yeah, a stack of Playboys that he just brings to this little, like, 8-year-old boy. Like, hey, you're hanging out. Your dad
You guys
won't
ready to
these.
see some tatas?
Your creepy white dad won't do this, which at first they don't explain. So you're like, why does an Asian family with a white dad and no mom? Which, I mean, the whole justification, by the way, do you remember that moment where they do the flash? So there's a flashback, right? And there's Leslie Nielsen, and he's on the island. He gets stopped by an elephant.
Oh, that part, yes.
Right after that, they just take this baby, which I'm assuming is this kid, right? And he runs, eye patch guy runs out all the way to this ship where, guess what? The drunk alcoholic dad or whatever, Captain Pervo's just sitting in a ship. Like, where did this guy come from? And why is he just sitting on this boat? It's like a canoe with this guy ready to paddle. And this dude just runs and hands this white guy in Patagonia. Like, remember, there's no white dudes anywhere. Everyone's Asian ninjas. And the one person that they don't justify is just some white dude on a boat. And he's just like, hey, thanks for the baby, and just leaves. There's no conversation. There's nothing. It's not like he's like, hey, what's going on, dude? What happened? Oh,
Yeah,
they got in a fight. You got to save this baby. He just hands him a baby, and the guy's like, thanks. And they just leave with the kid.
Been waiting for this.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you saw that in another movie, like the movie opened like that, you'd be like, oh, shit, slave trade. Like, fuck. You know, the movie just opened like that. That was the opening scene. Guy runs over, hands this white dude a baby, and he just takes off as quick as he can in a canoe.
Well, Bear, this movie obviously is total garbage. What is a movie that people should watch instead? Is Three Ninjas your pick of, like, kids' movies that get it right?
If you want kids' movies, I love Three Ninjas. It's like Home Alone was directed by Steven Seagal. It's amazing.
A good way to sum it up.
Yeah, dude. It's amazing. It's I have like, I don't know, I do like the movie Three Ninjas so much that I do have like 7 minutes of material that do slightly involve Three Ninjas. But I think that movie did it right. I think the characters were clear, though, in that movie. Like, there's a reason people were like, are you a Rocky, Colt, or Tum Tum?
Right.
Because you knew exactly who these people were. Like, you know, there's no that in this movie at all of Surf Ninjas. It's just like, you know, Rob Schneider. Most of these characters you couldn't describe. Like, if I started just describing them to you with no thing, I was just like, here's the movie. Here's the character breakdown. I just described to you them. You'd be like, "Who? What?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to know
who
anyone
are these
is.
Crazy people? Wait, what?
All right, teenager who's kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
you got.
I mean,
me.
don't get me wrong.
Idea.
Three Ninjas has its flaws. You know, like the grandpa situation's a little weird. I will say also, like, maybe that was just a thing back then. Like, we gotta have some weird family dynamic that doesn't make sense. Like, we haven't understood, you know, inclusion with people yet, but we know people care about it, so we're just, let's throw in ethnicity. And like the phone thing, you know, you remember Three Ninjas, the phone thing with the but it's just the way they played it up made you want to go home and do it.
Right.
And like there was never a point. It also felt like they were playing too. Like there was never a point as a kid where I was like, this is real. Like, I could go and take a can and do this, you know. And also they established these kids as kids that know how to make booby traps and develop these weird things. So it was a little easier to buy into this weird world of them like making contraptions. So, you know, like I said, justification, character relationship, and then, you know, all of the goofiness that should be in a kid's movie is in a movie like Three Ninjas or a movie like Home Alone in itself. But that's all that was, and it wasn't even structured in any sort of fashion. It was like they took all this silly shit from kids' movies and just threw it in a pot and mixed it up, and here's kids' movie leftovers.
It's all, it really is. It just feels like it is kids' movie leftovers.
Yeah. What's a movie that you, like, if you compared it, what would be a movie you would think of that would be like a good kids movie?
Well, I was kind of going to go in the opposite direction, where it's not necessarily a good kid. It's obviously not a good kids movie. This is a movie that's for adults, but a movie that feels like it's a video game, but doesn't do it the bullshit way that Surf Ninjas does. Is The Raid.
The Raid. See, that's an awesome movie, though.
Mm-hmm. It's a great movie.
But there's creativeness in that movie in the way they made that movie. Like that movie, so you can clearly tell someone sat down and was like, look, there's storyline is small. The purpose of this movie, though, we have a theme and like something we are trying to deliver to our viewers.
Right. And there's also, like there's twists and there's tension, and sure that the sequences feel like
most intense fight scenes I've ever seen.
We're on the first floor of the building. All right, we got to get to this floor of the building. We have a setback. We go back down to this floor of the building. It turns out the police captain has been not telling anybody that we're on this death mission. Mm-hmm. What the fuck do we do? And it just kind of goes from there. And and the fight scenes are crazy on top of it.
That's the thing, though. They had that goal going in to make like the longest fight scene pretty much continuous that anyone's ever done. So they went in that movie with a goal. And I don't think anyone went in any of this movie with a goal.
There's no goal here.
Yeah. So that to me was just like, that is what made Raid so cool. And I love the movie Raid. Like,
I love it so much.
I thought it was such an awesome movie. And I didn't see you going in that direction of like a movie with a video game.
Yeah, well, because it really does like a video game esque movie that doesn't feel just slapdash and pieced together like Surf Ninjas was. So that's my pick. That's what I think people should go.
There's movies that are awful, like in the same category of stupidity, but are just even pieced together better than that movie to where you can enjoy them. Like a movie that comes to mind is like The Stupids. Do you remember The Stupids?
I've never seen The Stupids. Jeffrey Burner has told me to watch The Stupids.
Watch The Stupids. See, it's one of the stupidest movies ever, but it's not like you go into that movie going like, this movie's going to be brilliant. You're like, this movie's clearly going to be stupid. And it's almost stupidly brilliant. Like the way they piece together the movie, it's just constant heightening of what's going on to these characters. And there's no heightening in Surf Ninjas. And so it's like, I don't know, you at least feel for those characters as you watch a movie like The Stupids. Like there is like empathy for the characters. There's no empathy for these characters. Even that, they're just like, you're supposed to be a king, and now I'm supposed to worship you. Don't do anything. Because, it's like, I don't know, it's weird morals to teach a kid.
Yes. Oh my God. The weirdest. Why would you teach the kid this? Why?
I don't know. I really, the movie, it should have been better than it was. And I think that also disappoints me. I like all the actors in the movie. And I love when people throw in someone who's not an actor into a movie that maybe you've wanted to see, but then you just don't give them any justice. Like, for instance, like, here's the truth. Don't you think that, like, Tone Loc, not saying anything, but, like, don't you think, like, his career, if that movie was actually not a piece of shit, like, he could have had, like, a huge acting career. Like, people might have been like, Tone Loc is funny, dude. But, like, people watch that movie and are like, this is fucking ridiculous. And so, like,
what else has Tone Loc been
Nothing that's made you go like, bam, dude. Because there's a lot of people that branched in and they have that role that just skyrockets them, shows you like, hey, this person's interesting, and they took that opportunity away from him.
They really did. They really did. He was in Heat, but like I just saw Heat. I forgot that he was in Heat because of.
Like, that was 20 years later. Congratulations, people forgot Surf Ninjas existed.
Sucked all the life out of him with Surf Ninjas.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I hated this movie, I did enjoy talking about it with you, Bear. So thanks for bringing it to my attention.
So happy that we got to talk about this movie. Because my first 3 picks, I looked at your thing and I was like, dude, everybody's already talked about movies I hate. And then this movie popped into my mind. And I was like, oh, the glory of shitting on this film.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes. Bear, where can the listeners find you and your work if they want to see what you're up to?
Oh, thanks, man. I'm at Bear Badeaux. On I guess on Instagram it is. Bear just like the animal. Bad like bad, and then EAUX. It means badass in French.
Nice. You know, I never knew that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Don't pull the wool over my eyes and then rip it away, Bear. Come on.
Hey, man, I pull the mullet over and then I pony out. Yeah, check out my website. It's bearsbadcomedy.com. And then, like I said, I'm doing the first impressions on March 10th at through Laugh Factory Chocolate Sundays. So I'll be on Zoom doing that. And then March 11th, I'm live at the Federal Bar. So excited to do some live comedy again.
I didn't even know the Federal was doing live shows again. Good shit.
Yeah, I just got hit up about it, dude. You know? There's some people that hit me up to do shows, Jay. You know? Only a few out there. Only a few out there. Some people are like, hey, man, I love you. And others are like, I got to go sit in a bubble box and shit on myself.
Bear's making reference to the fact that I have to do a float lab and have to miss his table read. But
yeah, he's doing a float lab, guys. He thinks he's a celebrity over here.
No, I just got to get my mind and my body right.
Paris Hilton.
That's all I got to do.
I love you, Jay. I really do appreciate you having me on this podcast. And to be truthfully honest to you, I've loved Blockbusting for a while. I used to listen to it at my old job. I used to work nights, and I would just play podcasts, dude. And I used to love listening to it. So thank you for having me.
Love you, buddy. This has been great to have you on. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates, live and live streamed, because live comedy is back, sort of, a little bit. And if you like the show, tell a friend and consider subscribing to the Patreon. And that's about it. Thanks again, Bear.
Thank you, Jay.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.